Welcome to the Spawn Chunks, episode number 51 for Monday, August 5th, 2019. My name is Johnny, but the internet knows me as Pixel Riffs, and joining me, as always, is my good friend Joel Duggan. Hey, Joel.
Hello, hello, hello.
And it is Patron Appreciation Day. It is the first day of the first podcast of the month, and so we always like to extend a bit of thanks to our patrons, especially now we're moving into a full year of the show. There are people who've been supporting us for nearly a full year on Patreon, and we want to tip our hats to those people especially, and anyone else who's come in to support us. Also, while we've got our hats off, we may as well come to you hat in hand and remind you that for as little as $1 per show, which is about $4 or $5 a month, you, dear listener, can support the show and get access to bonus content like the render distance, our Discord community, and other stuff we feel like road testing with our patrons, because we've been thinking about it as the year rolls on, and as we've kind of been doing the podcast for longer and longer, we've come up with a variety of Patreon rewards kind of on the fly that have been, they weren't necessarily offered when we started our Patreon campaign to begin with. So This is a constantly evolving beast, and I thought it was worth reminding folks as we move into a year of the show that things are moving forward all the time.
Absolutely, and the forward momentum is very much influenced by the Discord and by the people that are members of the Spawn Chunks, because we always ask, like, hey, is this a good idea? What do you guys think about this? We have a couple of smaller chat rooms that are reserved for some of the people that support us at the higher levels to talk about a little bit more the technical side of things. But when it comes to rewards that are going to be available to everybody, we always just post them in the general chat and be like, hey, so we're thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? Especially when it comes to like the format of the show, content of the show, because everybody listens to that, right?
And if nothing else, we get a nice update about what everyone's been doing in Minecraft lately. So what have you been doing in Minecraft lately, Joel?
Well, it's been mostly on the admin side. I launched my very first community server. So if you are supporting me on Patreon, then you can take a look at Infinity Cove, which I think is a very lovely name. And I have to give
a solid name.
I do. It is. And I have to give a solid shout out to Cosmic Dancer, who's one of our mods in the Spawn Chunks and is a mod on my Twitch and volunteered to be a mod on the server. She and I came up with the name. It was very much kind of a back and forth between her and I, just kind of brainstorming and stuff like that. She was very excited to get on the server, so we talked about it a lot. So thank you very much for that. It's a very, very cool name. And we have like 7 or 8 people in there already, which is fantastic. And I learned a lot about researching, the kind of server that I want, where I wanted it located. The people over at Cubed Host, they host the Citadel, my current server that I play on. But they also now host Infinity Cove. They were very helpful. And something that I thought I would point out for people that are looking at starting a server, whether it's for your family or whether it's for friends, the people at Cubed Host were nice enough to point out that while I was looking for something with a certain amount of RAM to handle a certain number of players online at one time, they also recommended one of their specific locations in Montreal because the single threading on the processing there benefits Java Minecraft, whereas the other locations don't have that feature. And while it still runs fine, you'll get a little bit of a bump if you think about the location and what processing might be happening there. So word to the wise, if you're thinking about looking into a server hosting provider, then ask them about the threading and what locations might be best for the kind of content that you want to run. Now, I don't know how that applies to potential like Bedrock or Windows 10 edition. I would imagine it doesn't matter as much. I think the single threading was specifically Java because I had specified that when I asked them about a server and told them about my plans. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to popping on there and looking around. I will not be playing. I kind of mentioned that on my Discord that it's not something I'm going to have time to play in personally very often. I do want to pop in and look around though. I think it's important to engage and look around and see what the cool people are doing. But already we're seeing an uptick in just people hanging out and doing fun stuff. And it's I'm very thankful for the very kind and welcoming community that I have kind of gathered over the last year or so, very similar to the same kind of community we have here on the Spawn Chunk. So it's been very fun to see people get really excited about that kind of stuff and hop in on ground one. And I have to say, as much as I don't ever want to reset the Citadel, it was kind of exciting to pop into a brand new Minecraft world that had nothing.
Yeah.
Zip.
Yeah, no, having that fresh server smell is always really nice. It's something that I've been thinking about more and more with the survival guide world. It's something that I don't necessarily want to reset ever because I plan on just making tutorials from that world, so I've got all of the stuff going forward. But if I did eventually reset and do kind of like a season 2 of the survival guide, how I would do things differently and leaving some stuff open to more kind of creative projects down the road that I closed off to myself this time around by, say, starting a house and everything at the spawn area instead of leaving that open for farms that would work in the spawn chunks and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's cool to start afresh and have a new perspective on what you want to do with that server, even if it's something that, like with this server, you're saying you're going to be a bit more hands off and let the people who want to play on the server play for themselves. It's still kind of neat to hop in and see what's going on.
And I'm looking for it desperately here. I thought I mentioned it. I was going to write it down here for the show notes, but I wanted to share the seed because I'm a little jealous of the Infinity Cove members, because the world seed, found it. Okay, hey, it is -18815471168. Go check that out. If you look at this seed and think, ooh, that sounds like something would be really fun to play on. Well, I have a place that you can join in some very fun people and play with. But if you're just looking to do it, some fun stuff on your own or maybe with your own family, I did move spawn. Spawn was kind of like in the middle of a desert, which is kind of a weird location. I moved the spawn and did some admin stuff. Spawn is now at like -800, 2500 Z. But it has got basically every rare biome and every biome in the game within 1,000 blocks of
nice.
And in interesting ways, in ways that you don't normally encounter, like, oh, here's a mesa biome, and oh, hey, it's a huge mesa biome, and it has an eroded mesa biome in the middle of it that's also ginormous, and it's just like, holy crap. It really, really interesting stuff. So I'm quite excited about it, and I learned quite a bit setting that up, learning how to move spawn, refreshing my mind about how to find the spawn chunks, how to find your spawn block, all that kind of stuff. So for anybody that's looking for a refresher and that kind of thing, setting up your own server, it's not as hard as you think. I hadn't done it in a while, so I was like, oh gosh, it's been like 2 years, so I should maybe look into how this is going to go. But a couple of quick videos on YouTube, and I was right up to snuff. And then I guess on the Citadel side of things, for me, again, I haven't had time to play. And also, it's been impossible to do any content creation because of the warm summer weather. However, speaking of YouTube videos, watched one of yours and went back and checked out episode 110 of the Minecraft Survival Guide. That's the first Wither Skeleton Farm.
Okay, thank you for reminding me, because I was scrubbing through my memory trying to think what was 110. There's so many of them now. It's nearly 200 at this point. I can't remember what any of them are.
I was trying to speak slowly because I wanted to see how long I could torture you and try to get you to remember. But in that, you use and show everybody how to use the Bounding Box Outline Reloaded mod.
Yes. Such a good mod.
And so, because I was talking about the mega farm on the crossroads of another fortress last week, I decided, before I commit to this, I'm at a stage now on the Citadel where I don't really think it's necessarily outside of the realm of vanilla gameplay for me to load up a single player seed and go looking for some good locations to do some cool content. And I just wanted to make sure before I build a farm on this nether fortress, which I discovered the old fashioned way and is within 300 blocks of the nether hub. So it's like mega close. I wanted to make sure that was the best kind of situation within reasonable walking distance in the nether for this farm. Turns out it is. And I have to say, between your video and downloading and using that Bounding Box Outline Reloaded mod, wow, that's a cool mod. I want that kind of thing. That kind of thing should be available in Minecraft, either as a data pack or as something similar to like when you turn on the chunk boundaries, like in the debug screen.
Yeah, when you press F3G and you see all of the grid, basically, yeah.
Like, you should really be able to do that because it's so helpful and kind of demystify some of the more technical and annoying things like block counting and all that kind of stuff. And no, I really had a lot of fun. I double checked a couple of my farms, my existing Wither Skeleton Farm. Wither Skeleton Farm? I think I said weather.
Yes, those weather skeletons that they're adding in 1.15.
Yeah. Anyway, the existing farm I have is going to be very easy to expand in the way that I thought. which is good because I was like, I had my understanding of how Nether Fortresses worked, and I thought, okay, well, I know that this should work. I want to double check it before I do. With this mod, of course, I double checked it and I was right. So I'm glad that I did that. Also, I'm really looking forward to using it on the new farm. It's gonna be super, super cool. But it kind of made me realize I really want a better data pack out there, and help me out, Sponge Chunk listeners. If you know of one, and you can help me out, or you're a mod pack or a data pack author, then please reach out. I would love to have a very clean and easy to use data pack for the mob spawning radius and the various mob spawning radius that occur in the game. Similar to, like, they don't spawn within 24 blocks of you. Anything outside of 32 blocks and they stop moving, and then anything outside of 128 and they don't spawn at all. Because you see that 128 block radius circle crop up all the time when people are talking about efficient farms, and counting it out is a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Have you been to Vanilla Tweaks and checked out their spawning spheres data pack?
I have. I'm pretty sure I have it on the Citadel, and I have not used it myself, but I've watched the video, and I've watched some of the videos that Nembon has put out. And while I see them and I see that they function, I also find that the GUI on them is not great.
Right, yeah.
I kind of just wish they would just create like a colored box, like a colored sphere, as opposed to, like, I can't remember exactly how Vanilla Tweaks do it, so forgive me if I'm not remembering, because I like with in Nembom's video, it was like flashing redstone dust or something at the border. It was
particle effects. Yeah,
it was really hard to see. It's like that doesn't. I mean, to the person that wrote it, sure, it's probably obvious, but for me, it's like, I don't know. That seems a little bit weird. What I would like to have is something very, as if you've built a 128 block sphere of glass. That's what I would like to see. Yeah. But have it be like a transparency or something like that. Again, I haven't looked into whether or not you can tweak, like, have the coding involved in the data pack, and then just have someone go in and maybe change the texture that's used or something like that. If it's easy to do that, then I might look into it a little bit more. But I really feel like that's the kind of thing that would be incredibly useful, especially when you're trying to explain to perhaps younger players or people new to the game how these kind of mechanics on the more technical side work. I think it could be very handy for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to what the in-game engine can render without the use of mods, which is why if you have a data pack, you're probably going to find it using like textures and things that are, and particle effects that are built into Minecraft as standard, because otherwise, you're having to radically alter some stuff, which is why having curved spherical objects in Minecraft is not really going to happen. So you'd probably be better off looking at mods for something like that. If
it doesn't have to be a sphere, like in terms of a geometrical sphere. I'm thinking about like how you would normally build a circle in Minecraft, like the pixel by pixel. That's fine, but I'm just thinking like I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the name of it, but in Hermitcraft this year, when they made their map floor, they used a mod, I think, or something that kind of like took pixel art from another Minecraft world and then did an overlay. So it was like a transport.
It was Lightmatica, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, audience, but Lightmatica is the thing you're thinking of.
But is that a mod, or was that something that they could install on the server? Because like
I think technically it's a client-side mod.
Okay, so client-side. But so Optifine is a client-side mod, but that still runs with whatever. It doesn't interfere with running 1.14.4 or something like that on the server. Like, you don't have to. You're not playing necessarily modded Minecraft. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you have to have Forge or you have to have other stuff running. So that's what I was thinking is that something like that, but just make a pixel sphere, similar to the kind of thing that you would generate on like plots.uk, but have it be in game, and just so you just don't have to count and think about, like, you just place a bunch of blocks. You're spawn proofing this area until you get to the edge of your foggy blue box, and you go, oh, that's the edge, and then just you don't have to worry about it, right? Because otherwise it's just a lot of work.
Speaking of mega farms in the Nether, though, I've been working on one of my own. I'm finally forging ahead with the Donut Gold Farm.
Oh, nice.
I'm loosely following Il Mango's video. I'm not doing everything the way he's doing it, just because a lot of the time when it comes to these bigger farms especially, once I understand the mechanics involved, I like to take one look, maybe take a screenshot of what somebody else has done, and then try and reproduce it, if not from memory, then just with my own understanding of how the mechanics function. And it's not ever going to be like the fully optimized version of it, but I think I can do a good enough job that I'll be satisfied with it, and that's, going to give people who watch my series the foundation to go out and experiment with stuff themselves.
Right.
And yeah, I've got to the stage now where I've built the spawning platforms, and for tomorrow's episode of the Survival Guide, I'm going to be doing all of the rest of the stuff, figuring out the, kill mechanism and making sure that the spawn cycle continues. And people have been telling me in the comments, frustratingly, that this farm is broken. And I entirely disagree with that, because it still spawns a ton of pigmen. So I think that's really the point. I feel like maybe there are still some aspects of it where zombie pigmen needing a line of sight and the aggro chain not necessarily refreshing fast enough, or, going away after a couple of minutes to help out players who have died in the nether and need to go and reclaim their stuff. If I need to throw a snowball at a pigman every now and again to refresh the farm, that's fine. I don't mind babysitting it, considering that I'm not on a server, I'm not here to AFK for it. It's not just there to give me a ton of experience and gold while I let my computer do that. I'm absolutely fine just babysitting it for a while, and it's still the most efficient way of spawning pigmen. So I feel kind of weird, tackling all these people in my comments who are saying, like, why are you building this farm when it's not working in this? No, it is working, just not in the ways that everybody wants it to work. It's perhaps not the most optimized thing in the world, but it is still very effective at what it does. And what it does is produce a great deal of gold.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. Speaking of gold, I've also been farming gold in another way, which is to make a giant drowned farm as well. So, I'm definitely at the stage where go big or go home is the motto of the survival guide. And I turned a river biome into a drowned farm by basically tracing the outline of the biome itself and then building that up in the sky so that drowned would spawn in a really large tank of water. So that's been fun, and it's actually got me a bunch of tridents, a bunch of nautilus shells, and a reasonable amount of gold by now. So that was another interesting challenge, one that I've never really taken on before, but one that relied on very simple mechanics of just like, how does this thing spawn, and how can I get it over to me to kill it? And that's really all it takes, which is good, because that's really what I'm able to do. That's the limit of what I can deal with, technically speaking. If there were more complex redstone contraptions, then I would start to look something up. But if it's just spawn a bunch of this stuff, get it angry at you, and then kill it, then it's a lot easier for me to handle, I think.
So on the gold farm, are you using the entity cramming with the minecarts? Is that how you're killing the...
I will be, yes. I haven't set that whole thing up yet, but that's cool. The plan. Because that seems to be the fastest way to remove them from the mob cap, which is what spawns more pigmen and keeps them angry at you.
Yep.
So
exactly.
That's it.
One of the things that I ran into with that farm, as it's been updated over the last little while in terms of pigman pathing and stuff like that, I found that the little baby pigmen were breaking it, in that they weren't pathing to the minecart. So there's I can't remember who did it, probably Omango made another small snippet video. It's like 3 minutes or something like that, where if you add magma blocks around the corners of your central area, then for whatever reason the pigmen don't try to path over that, and then they recourse correct, and they end up going back into the minecarts.
I gather you can also replace the slabs that you have at the corners with snow layers, according to the same video Il Mango did. Is you can,
right, and that increases the visual range or something?
It keeps the visual range more or less the same. I think it maybe provides like one fewer pixel, so that the pigmen don't think they can path through the slabs, but then they still see you, so they still know you're there, but they realize that that's not a space they can squeeze through, and they carry on moving around. And the only thing you have to do then is light it slightly differently so that the snow layers don't melt.
Of course. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I've mentioned several times on the podcast that my donut farm is built in the nether, so not on top of it, but like in a lava lake. So I've always had an issue with it not being like super fast. It's certainly fast enough for gaining gold and experience when you're not at the computer. Like really 20 minutes AFK and I'm up to like level 50 something from 0 plus all the gold that comes from that. What's nice about it, of course, is that because they're angry at you, they'll drop their swords and they'll drop ingots and stuff. Whereas like naturally, I don't think that's something that happens. Like it qualifies as a player kill because they're angry. Whereas if you just, if they died another way, like if you were like pushing them with pistons or something like that, and they weren't angry at you, then it wouldn't yield the same bonus drops. I think.
You can still use turtle eggs as bait and entity cram them that way, but all you're going to get from that is gold nuggets and rotten flesh. They don't count as aggroed on the turtle eggs.
Right, because you've done that before. That was one of the earlier farms, I think, in the Nether.
Yeah. And so I kind of want to eventually build up to doing something like what you've done and building that massive gold farm, but in the Nether. But I thought that's going to be so much additional work on top of building the farm in the first place that I feel like that's the next stage up from building one on the Nether roof is, okay, now we're going to transform this entire section of the Nether just so we can build a farm like this. Yeah. And I'll probably end up doing that for my Wither Skeleton farm as well when I get around to building the Crossroads farm like the one you're attempting. I'll probably tear out a whole bunch of the Nether then as well. So it's going to be a lot of work either way.
I think the real benefit, I think, to just the ones that are in the Nether, it's got nothing to do with extra drops. It's not going to benefit you in that way. But they look cooler, and similar to what we talked about last week, there is kind of like that little, bragging right of like, I didn't make this at Y128 in the sky above the Nether after breaking bedrock. I put it in a lava lake. I had to slab everything. Like I had to clear all this netherrack. I had to do all this stuff just to get it to do, this kind of rates, which does feel like a little bit more of a notch on the belt, if that makes any sense. In terms of, because I'm curious, because I don't remember this, because I've not really worked with drowned that often. Do you have to kill the drowned yourself, or is it worth it to just have them go into like an auto kill chamber?
You have to kill them to get the stuff they are holding. So if they've got tridents and stuff, you do have to have a player kill in order to get a chance of them dropping that. So yeah, in terms of tridents, nautilus shells, the stuff that I'm interested in, and gold works the same way as iron with zombies. So if you kill a drowned as a player, you get the chance of them dropping a gold ingot. I don't think they drop carrots and potatoes in the same way that regular zombies do. But that doesn't happen if they are killed by entity cramming or any other means.
Right.
So you can't really AFK at the drowned farm in as much as you can't have them automatically killed in the background and spawn more. You do have to click on them regularly in order to clear them out and get more.
Yeah, because I remember when I found my zombie spawner in the swamp that was going to be going most of the time that I was mining. Excuse me. I was looking at all the different ways that I could potentially turn it into from a zombie spawner into a drowned farm. But the rates were just so low, and you didn't get the stuff that you wanted. You'd have to actually stand there and wait for things. It's like, well, no, it's not worth it. So I wasn't sure. That would explain why most drowned farms that I see are ginormous, because you're trying to get the max amount of mobs and drops because you have to stand there and actively harvest stuff as opposed to being just full-time AFK.
And in Java Edition, drowned converted from zombies don't have any chance of having a trident.
Yes.
So that you'll find that Bedrock Edition is, for a start, they've got tons of tridents anyway, because drowned spawn in rivers much more frequently because they're not affected so much by light level, which doesn't really happen at all on Java unless your river is really deep and is usually like a man-made expansion of the river. But yeah, you'll find that on Bedrock Edition, if they want to have a drowned farm and get tons of tridents, all they need to do is rig up a zombie spawner and drown the subjects of the zombie spawner. Whereas on Java, you just can't do that. So I had to resort to building one in a river. You can build them in oceans as well. There are definitely smaller designs. I'm pretty sure Wattles has one, Tango has one. There's a few other folks out there who've made drowned farms inside of ocean biomes, but drowned aren't affected by elevation in rivers. They are in oceans, but not in rivers, which is why river biomes are so popular for them, because you can remove the mob cap that's surrounding you in an ocean biome. If you have like caves underneath the surface that are generating other hostile mobs, if you can build something up in the sky, obviously you avoid that completely. So that's what I did with my
if you're okay with having something hover in the sky, then you just build it high enough that the mob spawn sphere just doesn't affect it. Yeah, very cool.
And this thing is ugly as well, by the way. It's because I'm tracing the outline of the river biome, it looks like a terrible jigsaw piece. And luckily I chose a river that was probably a couple of thousand blocks away from anything else I've built in this world already, because I knew this thing was going to be unsightly and a menace, but very, very good for spawning drowned. And I got all three of those things, I think.
Yeah, I to me, I'd have to be a drowned farm is something that I've been thinking about putting in, say, like my sci-fi build zone, like when I eventually get out there, if I can, because then you've got like, you can have like hovering things in the sky. It doesn't matter. Like you could just put rockets on the bottom of it and call it like, hey, it's a floating, retro repulsor lift farm. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of stuff you can get away with. But when you're putting it in the same area that you've got like, your Viking village, it doesn't really work out. It doesn't really work out.
Not quite Viking technology, is it? But
no.
Let's move on to the news and talk a little bit more about technology, especially the technology of reporting bugs. This is one of the things we felt was relevant to the news segment this week, because once again, we don't have any news on updates or any news about Minecraft Earth. A lot of stuff is probably being saved up for Minecon Live when that happens in September. So instead, you wanted to highlight this, actually. This is an article on Minecraft.net about reporting bugs on the Minecraft's JIRA, which is the sort of online database, I guess, that they use for user-submitted bugs, and presumably for dealing with issues in private as well.
Yeah, and I wanted to highlight this because as a relatively new player to Minecraft, we'll say like 2.5 years in, and not someone that has reported any bugs until just recently, when I went to go look for bugs or report bugs myself, I found the process very confusing. I was wondering, because it's got a big Mojang logo at the beginning and at the top of the page, why I can't log in with my Mojang, login information. Is because you have to create a completely different account. I thought, well, that seems silly. Why am I not reporting Minecraft bugs with my Minecraft login? But they, that's just the way that it goes. That's the tool that they're using. So, and they use it to, pardon me, they use it to report bugs on all the different editions, including Minecraft Earth now, Minecraft Bedrock, and the article goes through specific search terms and acronyms and stuff like that to kind of help you hone in on what you're looking for. I won't really recap the entire article. It's a fairly short read. When it comes to technical stuff like this, I do wish maybe the Mojang staff would lean back a little bit on the fluffy writing and the silliness, because it's already a complicated process, and it just becomes harder to read and harder to decipher when they're kidding and when they're actually talking about a real bug. So I found that a little bit hard to digest in the article. But they get into some step-by-steps. They talk about like being sure to make sure that the bug has not been reported already. They explain how to include a bug report. I also wanted to point this out because more recently in 1.14.4, we have the new, I think it's a debug export log that you can attach to and include with your bug report. So all of this stuff helps Mojang become better at locating and tracking and fixing bugs. And bugs are things that we all complain about in the game. So it felt like, with all the ranting that I've been doing over the last few weeks, that it would be just as a good balance to point out, like, look, they're being very clear here about where you go, how to do it, and what the process is. My one criticism about the JIRA page is how the bugs are worded. I still think that there needs to be kind of a clearer process in terms of like, this is happening, it is a bug, this is how it should behave, or something. Because sometimes it's just like, Endermen are doing this, and there's no context as to like, are they supposed to do that? Are they doing that and it's a new thing? Or have they always been doing that and it's a problem? Or like, there seems to be this lack of articulate description that I do find rather confusing in terms of how bugs are reported on and how things are addressed. I also do find that sometimes the responses are problematic. Where like somebody reports a bug and then one of the moderators says, this is a repeat bug, and they send you a link to something that is even less descriptive. And you're just like, well, there's nothing to indicate that these two are related. So how are you connecting it? And if you're connecting it, you should be explaining why it's an overlapping bug, not just being, because they say in the article, please don't submit a bug and go, this broken. like help, like that doesn't help anybody, like be as articulate as you can when you're submitting these bugs. But when in their own kind of like in some of the comments and some of the internal things on the JIRA page, they're doing just that. They're like repeat bug link. And you're just like, but you don't explain why. And the link that you've posted doesn't explain why. And I find the whole thing pretty confusing. And I'm a pretty technical person. Like, I've been around a little while. I've been on the internet a long time. And I feel like while it's important and it's a good article, I think that more improvements are still needed on the JIRA side to make it, what's the word I'm looking for? User-friendly.
Yeah. I think this is going to be the problem that comes up with any large-scale user-submitted stuff, is that, for a start, the user is the one who sets up the title of the bug report. So if it just says, like, Enderman problem, that's entirely on whoever's submitted it. And it's not, I presume it's not something that they choose to edit, even if they have the capacity to edit and clarify what the title of the bug is. But obviously that then leads to, like you said, stuff being linked back to that page, and the title itself is not particularly descriptive right out of the gate. So the users are to blame a little bit there, and I'm not really sure what could be done to clean that up and make it a little bit more immediately apparent what the issue is without you having to read through the entire bug report and the steps to reproduce the issue before you understand what's going on. I also think, in terms of the options that they've listed on this Bug Us About Bugs article on Minecraft.net, to encourage people to make bug reports the right way. Step 4 is please search before creating a report to make sure your issue hasn't already been reported. That should be point number 1 as far as I'm concerned, because the amount of times, like you said, they are having to close a ticket to just say this is a repeat of something else because people haven't searched or they don't necessarily know how to search. And there is a section underneath those points on the article which tells you how to search for something. Use search terms, use wildcards, make sure you're searching within the right version of Minecraft. All of that is quite helpful, and all of that should be the stuff that you get familiar with if you're planning on participating in the Minecraft bug reporting system more regularly, because that's definitely the stuff that you need to be checking.
I think also, a plain language search engine for this JIRA thing would be way easier too. Like it's good that they've got this article, and it's good that they're they're outlining the different things that will help you find the things you're looking for faster. But it needs a glossary. Like you should be able to search for Minecraft Earth and then insert bug, and that should bring it up, not MCE. I'm just maybe a little bit old, maybe I might be dating myself, with all the different acronyms that people have to remember. But I feel like, like when I go to Google and I search for plain language stuff, I generally find something in the first 5 hits, right? And I feel like if you want people to search for already reported bugs, granted, like you said, a lot of that depends on what people have named the bugs. But I feel like your search engine has to be able to kick out results that people can discern. Because I'm assuming what's happening is that people are going to report a bug, searching for a bug, looking to see that nothing that they have found in their search makes any sense, and then submitting their bug, right? With all the patience of the average internet user, right? So, you have to clarify that stuff, I think.
And the other thing about this is that the JIRA mods are all going to be largely volunteers. Obviously, the folks who are the developers on the game, and I imagine a few members of staff, will be monitoring this stuff pretty closely and have the capacity to make moderation actions and link tickets and that kind of thing. But a lot of people who use this are going to be just like volunteer mods, and not only are they going to be fallible in that respect, so they might be linking stuff which it turns out isn't necessarily related to the ticket in question, they've just misunderstood the problem, but they're also going to have very limited time in which to do that, and that's probably why they haven't left a preamble to say this is linked to this ticket, because I feel like a lot of the time they just expect you to do the mental maths involved in that, because they've only got 5 or 6 minutes to look through the latest submissions before they have to go ahead with whatever they do for the rest of their day. So hopefully this article can lead to some slightly more, I'm going to say, precise bug reporting from the community if people were unsure about how to do that. My hope is that it doesn't lead to them getting a ton of new tickets that are just duplicates and reports for stuff that's actually user error, just because people now know how to submit bugs and they didn't before. because, yeah, largely speaking, I imagine the reason that they fluff up some of the language in these Minecraft.net articles is because they presume that kids are going to read them as well, and now the kids are going to be told how to submit bugs. Who knows? Hopefully it's for the better. We can only hope.
Please report bugs responsibly.
Yes, that's the message you should take away. One other quick thing that we wanted to touch on, it's actually going to feed back into our main topic here, is there was a Polygon article the other day that Mark Watson actually retweeted today that I had a look at. It was a Polygon article saying, the headline being, Minecraft is having a big comeback in 2019, and the article went into a little bit about the rise in interest in Minecraft lately and what might have fed into that. So that's going to probably take up the majority of our discussion a little bit later on. We even have an email that's related to that. But first, I think we should move on to Chunk Mail and read an email that's related to last week's topic, the grind. So how about you take this one?
Absolutely. Isaac T has written in, and Isaac said, I was listening to the episode The Grind and wanted to write in with my 2 cents. There are a couple of reasons I do the grind. One, the bragging rights. My friends and I like to see who can dig a bigger hole, plant the most crops, or level the biggest mountain. The second reason, the resources and projects that come with gathering them. For example, when you level a mountain, you need bulk storage for stone, dirt, etc. Then you can use those materials for terraforming or scaffolding. A player can, quote unquote, grind on a project out for hours and hours and hours as long as you find it fun and fulfilling. Keep up the grind. And finally, the best reason to grind is, of course, to have time to listen to the Spawn Chunks. You can tell why we read Isaac's email. Thank you for your time and keep up the great work, Isaac. Isaac, thanks very much for the response to last week's.
Flattery will get you everywhere, including a spot on this show in the email section. But
exactly.
You kind of mentioned the bragging rights thing earlier when you were talking about your gold farm and just having the kind of accomplishment and the sense of, like, you know, the sense of being able to brag about, yes, I did all of this in survival, and that vibe is something I'm definitely relating to more and more as I'm starting to take on more ambitious projects for my series as well.
Yeah, the later in game you get and the bigger things get, the more you kind of feel accomplished when you look back at, like, just how long it's taken to do things. And there's something too, it's like a satisfying when you look at, like, a server, like I look at the Citadel over the last couple of years, and I'm not the only person that builds there. There's, you know, Alistair's got a castle, MacCast does all kinds of stuff. We worked on the Guardian farm together. There's all these big projects that we've done, but also the cumulative small projects as they just kind of pile up. Like, someone builds a little house, then someone builds a little farm, and then there's a little flower garden. But once you are walking down the road in your server and you see all of these things together, there's this big sense of accomplishment. And I think that's something that applies to the grind, but in a very finite area, right? Like, it's a very solo experience as opposed to a multiplayer experience in terms of, like, you know, you put in the work. Or, I mean, it could potentially be like, you know, you're working on a very big group project and you all have to clear out a big hole, or you're working on some big underground thing and you guys all have the pride, you know, at the end of the day. But Isaac brings up something that I think I touched on briefly last week, which is the cascading projects that keeps people from being bored in Minecraft. A good example is my witch farm. Found the witch hut farm, and I decided to make the witch farm. And then I had to do farm storage. And then I needed a perimeter. And then the perimeter involved a lot of digging. So I needed bulk storage. And then I had a beacon mine. And then I discovered slime chunks. And then I needed slime storage. So you can see we're just kind of, like, sometimes just grabbing this one thing and just letting yourself get into that little bit of a grind will all of a sudden create, you know, a bunch of other different projects for you. So if you find yourself lacking something to do in Minecraft, like Isaac said, I say keep up the grind.
Yes, I kind of agree at this stage, and I'm in the business of agreeing because that means more content for me. But also, yeah, it's the same with me with, you know, starting a drowned farm because I want to have tridents regularly, and I need tridents for a charged creeper farm that I'm going to build, and then the charged creeper farm feeds into the wither skeleton farm, and I've got to find ways of connecting those two. And like you say, like it all just feeds back into each other, and eventually, I think I said last week, you end up just being able to stand still as Minecraft happens around you and all of the resources are collected into their individual chests and stuff. But yeah, we haven't quite got that far quite yet, but we will see. We'll see. So let's move on to Sky's email, because this one relates specifically to the Polygon article and our main discussion topic for this week. Sky says, "Hey guys, my name is Sky. I've been listening to your podcast since episode 40 or so. I actually found it through the Hermitcraft recap, and I'm currently binging my way through them all. Thank you very much. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but some bigger YouTubers have started to play Minecraft, most notably PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye, and they seem to be thoroughly enjoying their experiences with it. In fact, I was watching Jack recently, and he seemed really invested in it and in protecting his dog. You mentioned in one of your previous episodes how you miss the naivety of new players. For example, Jacksepticeye got really excited when he found out that potatoes were in the game. He's Irish, who can blame him? What do you think about all of these bigger YouTubers playing Minecraft? Do you think it is good for the community and the game in general? Thanks for making this really awesome podcast, and keep up the hard work." Sky, thank you so much for your email. And that is, as I said, going to feed a little bit into the discussion for this week.
And these kind of things come up all the time in the Discord, and not just on the show, but we have time throughout the week to touch on articles like this or different things like bug reports. So things like the things that Isaac brought up and Sky brought up, they happen in our Discord community. And if you're curious about that kind of thing, you can go over to patreon.com/thespawnchunks. Check out the support at any level. It's usually about the price of a cup of coffee for the month. And that'll get you access to the Discord. And then we can chat about this kind of stuff all week long.
I've definitely seen people bringing up Minecraft Mondays, which is one of the other things that comes up in the Polygon article, as this kind of tournament of celebrity YouTubers playing Minecraft. And I'm not sure if they're playing UHC or if they're doing something like that, but there's this... it's kind of a battle royale thing in the same way that Fortnite matches will be played between kind of higher level YouTubers and stuff like that. So
it's interesting because I had someone suggest that a Minecraft Monday would be good to do because we do the Spawn Chunks on Monday. And so I don't mislead anybody in terms of social media. If I post that I'm streaming on Twitch and I do hashtag Minecraft Monday, are there certain expectations that are now attached to that I don't know about? Like, because I don't want people tuning in going like, why is this guy slabbing the nether? I thought he was supposed to be like doing PvP madness because it's Minecraft Monday.
Yeah, I feel like it's a brand that they've sort of developed for themselves around this particular tournament, and so yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to get particularly confused if they see you slabbing the nether. They're like, oh right, it's a Monday and you're playing Minecraft. I get it. Like it's
right.
Not the most inventive title, but I think the guy who organizes it used to do like a Fortnite Friday, so it's kind of the same sort of thing. But yeah, it's something that's brought up in this Polygon article, which will be linked in the show notes. I'm not going to read out the entire URL here because it's long and full of various like search engine optimization terms that people are going to be searching for. But I'll bring out the bullet points here. So the article is titled "Minecraft is having a big comeback in 2019." And it does immediately acknowledge in like the second paragraph, it says, Minecraft, this is a quote by the way, quote, "Minecraft, it should be noted, has been quietly dominating video games this entire time. But things are changing in 2019. Minecraft's dominance is no longer out of sight from the mainstream," end quote. And so it goes into a little bit of discussion about how several highly subscribed YouTubers are getting back into the game, either having played previously or are brand new to the game and are just like, well, Minecraft seems to be the hot thing right now, so let me give it a try. They're hosting tournaments like Minecraft Monday where, you know, celebrity YouTubers and so forth are participating. Here's another quote. "It's become a running joke even that Fortnite channels are pivoting to Minecraft as interest in the Battle Royale genre seems to be decreasing on social media." And it's interesting that now one of the more popular Battle Royale things is now happening in Minecraft. So maybe it's not a decrease in interest in Battle Royale as a format, but more just in the games which are currently touting Battle Royale as their main game mode. Because Minecraft is so inclusive, Minecraft is a whole variety of things, whereas Apex Legends or Fortnite is basically just this Battle Royale mode, even though Fortnite started as something different. So it's kind of funny to me that they say like interest in Battle Royale is decreasing, and then the rise in, you know, this Minecraft Monday tournament seems to be focused around the Battle Royale aspect that can be present in Minecraft. One last quote for you. "The game has managed to maintain interest through updates and increased ways to engage with its world. Augmented reality game Minecraft Earth, which is currently in beta, seems to be the only thing capable of putting up a fight against Pokemon Go. Minecraft Dungeons, also announced this year, will bring a Diablo-like experience to a younger audience." The article also goes on to cite nostalgia as a factor. People who've played the game earlier in sort of alpha beta releases got tired of it, and now they're coming back almost a decade later. So Obviously, we are of the opinion, I believe, not wanting to speak for you here, Joel, but from our perspective, I don't think Minecraft ever really went away. and saying that it's having a comeback right now is a little bit disingenuous to us. But I think this is focused on the YouTube superstars, the people who make a living on their sort of personality-driven content and following trends and just kind of trying out every game that's out there, instead of focusing on one game, the depth of the gameplay, the mechanics, the kind of stuff that you and I do when we are typically just Minecraft players and very little else in the grand scheme of things, as far as the YouTube stuff we put out and so forth. So these folks like PewDiePie and so forth are getting back into the game now and generating this kind of surface-level hype. But in reality, I feel like Minecraft has been on the rise since sometime last year. They were showing record numbers of players in 2018. They were beating out Fortnite's monthly average by about 20 million players. Like Fortnite had a peak of, I think, 78 million at one point, and Minecraft was doing more like 98. And so people have been playing Minecraft the entire time. It's just that these people are bringing it back into the spotlight. It's getting mainstream attention as a result of it being whatever these quote-unquote trendsetters seem to be playing. How do you feel about this? What do you think about these folks bringing Minecraft into the spotlight?
Well, and I have a unique kind of perspective here because I was not really even aware of Minecraft when it first came on the scene. Like it might have gotten like, oh, it's a block game. Like I just passing mention on a podcast I might have been listening to, but did not play it until really late stage 1.12. So like 2.5 years ago. So I don't have that nostalgia factor. I don't have this personal experience of the roller coaster of the up and then the down and then the even keel and then the slow climb sort of thing. And then now with this spike of more kind of surface level popularity that you mentioned, I can definitely see from experiencing just a little bit of the game before 1.13 just what the update Aquatic did for Minecraft. Yeah, I think there was a lot of appeal to the average Minecrafter to get back into it. If you were playing but playing very little, then all of a sudden there was a lot more to do, and it was a much different experience. There is also a huge uptick I noticed from a lot of the content creators that I follow, things like Hermitcraft, yourself, before you and I were actually even friends. Like you would see a real increase in content creation. Like we're talking about like daily videos or certainly a few times a week, multiplayer servers, all that kind of stuff. And so I started to see the upswing then. So not in the last 6 months, but in the last two years, year and a half. Yeah. I guess 1.13 came out last summer, so a year. And so that's where I start to see the uptick, and I credit it to the gameplay and how fun it's been, but not because I have the experience, but because people that I follow, and people that I have now as friends, like yourself, people that I follow in Hermitcraft and other content creators, like Decidedly Vanilla when it was really busy, Whip and Fixit and some other people that we've had on this show, they've been playing a lot longer than me. And so they're saying, ooh, this is the most fun that I've had in Minecraft in a while. And I believe them because I know that they've been playing for 8 years or something. So I can kind of see that. I'm not surprised by the uptick in the, I guess we'll say, the popularity of Minecraft, the perceived popularity of Minecraft, we'll say. Yeah. Because there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of vitriol around games like Fortnite and the Battle Royale type PvP games. They can be kind of salty. And I think that depending on your age range, a lot of the slightly more adult players might have enough salt in real life and real news that they don't necessarily want more of it in their gameplay. And I unfortunately can't cite the sources. They were things that kind of fleeted by, but I've noticed some different posts on different websites about gamers being sick of saltiness and not playing these kind of multiplayer games, because they can't play for more than a few minutes before getting owned by some rude 13-year-old. And just, there was an article recently about the number of adults that have been verbally verbally assaulted, I guess is the easiest way to put it, online. And it's like, well, this is why I don't play video games, is because it's a toxic environment. You don't tend, it depends greatly obviously on the content creator and the community surrounding it, but you don't tend to see that stuff associated with Minecraft as often as you see it with other battle royale games and games that this article is comparing Minecraft to in terms of popularity. And I think there's something to be said for the steadfast, generally family-friendly, certainly in terms of the game content. If you remove content creators from the equation and just look at Minecraft itself, there's certainly something to be said for, you're not excluding anybody from the game, right?
Yeah.
And like, if you're playing a violent shooter or a game that, even if it's not blood and gore, like maybe it's sci-fi lasers and stuff, it's still kind of a mature content level. Like, you don't necessarily want your 7-year-old playing Apex Legends, right? But most 7-year-olds quite enjoy Minecraft, and would get a lot and learn a lot along the way. And I feel like that's, if you can adopt, your content as a content creator to something like Minecraft and get something out of it, then I think you're going to include a wider audience, which I think is going to benefit everybody.
Something else it mentioned in the Polygon article actually is the appeal of it to advertisers, because Minecraft is a family-friendly game, and we know that there have been recent issues with the YouTube ad system based on controversies around certain YouTubers and how advertisers didn't want their stuff advertised alongside content that wasn't family-friendly. Hence, YouTube adpocalypse happens, and now some of these creators are getting wise to that and potentially looking for slightly more safe content in terms of, the content of the game itself, regardless of their own reactions to it and so forth. They can still be as blue as they like in their commentary, but they are looking for something that when advertisers see what they're playing, they go, oh, okay, Minecraft, that's fine, because that's not got, somebody shooting somebody else's head off.
Yeah, and that to me, though, is unfortunate, because like you said, they can be as blue as they want in the commentary. So now you're kind of misleading, and it's just going to be a matter of time before somebody complains about, the advertisement for a family-friendly product in a family-friendly gaming content stream, or the game is marked as family-friendly, but the commentator is not. And I think it's just going to be a matter of time before that becomes an issue, because if blue or adult content creators are using Minecraft as a way to skirt the block list for advertising, in terms of the algorithm saying like, oh, Minecraft is okay for all ages, then I think that it's just gonna be a matter of time before people start to realize, oh, okay, yeah, no, see what you're doing there, that's not gonna fly with us. For example, like bigger companies that have like a brand to protect will not want to be, associated with certain content creators. So I hope that the content creators that have found, a place for Minecraft in their game rotation will proceed with that in mind, and know that because you're playing Minecraft, you're going to attract some younger audience members, and maybe you should experiment with, rolling back your content to a place that matches the game, at least for when you're playing that game.
I'm not super keen on anybody sort of censoring themselves as a result of this, but I think if nothing else, it's if they're considering their own ad revenue and stuff like that, maybe it's the case where the blame needs to come squarely down on the creator themselves, rather than any association being carried with Minecraft as a game.
Well,
and because that's the kind of thing that obviously algorithms and stuff aren't necessarily going to pick up on, but when it comes to individual people having objections about a specific creator, that's an area in which YouTube definitely needs to improve if people are going to levy those kind of complaints. It's a tricky thing, and we're getting away from what we're sort of talking about here. It's the wider scope is kind of important, but it's interesting to me that there are going to be a portion of players who get into Minecraft purely out of curiosity, in the same way that some of these big creators have. They're like, oh, Minecraft is a big thing right now. I've never really played it. They get into it, their audiences get into it, and I expect even after these creators have decided that they're no longer interested and they want to go and play something else, that's going to leave a core of their player base who wants to see a little bit more of this game, who's been, really compelled by the content, has maybe picked up Minecraft themselves through watching these monolithic creators, and they want to know what's under the surface. And I hope that that is what filters down to the rest of the community, is the curiosity about the game, the desire to take mechanics further and building further and that kind of thing, and then they find some of the people who are currently, have been playing Minecraft for a little while, folks like the Hermitcraft folks like me. We are probably benefiting from this in various ways, and I know for a fact I get many people coming into my Twitch streams and in my YouTube comments section mentioning stuff that, say, PewDiePie has done, especially on my Woodland Mansion video. After he raids a Woodland Mansion, I get a ton of people saying, well, PewDiePie did this and he only had iron armor and a stone sword or whatever. And I roll my eyes a little bit at that, because I'm making a tutorial for people. I'm trying to encourage them to be cautious, and just because this guy runs through it with a stone sword or whatever doesn't mean that you're not going to get your butt handed to you by Vindicators. But it's interesting to me the impact that these people have, regardless of what you think of them as people or as content creators, how their audiences can impact our own audiences, and just the general interest in Minecraft as a whole, really.
Well, I think the general interest is ultimately going to end up at a higher tide level, right? Like, I mean, just regardless of, because the attention is not negative. It's not like there's something wrong with the game. It's not like there's a big controversy. It's just an uptick in these very influential, YouTubers picking up Minecraft, and ultimately, like as the I can't remember the term for it, but it's like when the seeds all fall, essentially some of them are going to stick around, right? Roots are going to be planted, and like you said, the people are gonna enjoy it, because I don't necessarily think, and I don't want to blanket statement everyone. I'm sure there are going to be some of these giant content creators that do genuinely like Minecraft, will continue to play it, or certainly play it for a lot longer than they thought they would, and find it fun. One of the quotes from the article was, PewDiePie, is playing Minecraft for now because he wants to, not because it's a trend or because it's easily monetizable. This is something that he had mentioned in a video explaining why he's playing it. I'm calling total crap on that. Now, it's just my opinion, and I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's simply smart business. But don't pretend it's not part of the equation. I'm sure he's enjoying the game, but I'm also sure that he's playing it because of the uptick in popularity. I don't think it's an accident that, PewDiePie and a lot of these other content creators are playing it. It's not that they all independently decided, oh, Minecraft looks fun, and they're going to go do it because it's just going to be fun for them. This is what they do for a living. They're absolutely looking at it from a business perspective. And I find it a little troubling when statements like that say, oh, no, I'm playing it because I want to, because it's fun. It's like, no, dude, just play it because it's fun, but also mention that, it's on an upswing, and I've seen a lot of people talk about it. And I find that kind of statement really arming the community that follow these kind of creators to then come into, streams like yours and make comments that kind of drive you nuts, because like they've been given half the picture, right? Yeah. And so I find that a little bit troubling. But like you said, I think when everything lands, it's going to rise the community to a higher level of awareness and a higher population, and bring in some new players, which are going to bring in some new ideas and new creativity and new technical stuff. Like you don't know what person that's out there that is a game developer that has just never had time for Minecraft and gets in there because some of the popular people that he or she follows are playing the game, and because they're a very technical minded person, can come up with some fantastic farms and innovative stuff for the technical community. You just never know. It brings me to a quote from Mark Watson. It was on a thread that I think I even saw you chime in on Twitter. We'll have a link to this in the show notes, but I really like what he said in response to it's Minecraft is being brought up by these YouTubers, and he's like, it had a dip in how much the mainstream was talking about it, but not in players playing it. we were taking on Fortnite's MAU at the top of its hype. This is just turning on the afterburners. It represents the work of a few hundred people over the years. And I think that's perfect. Like that's exactly the kind of thing that we want to point at and make sure that everybody understands, is that Minecraft is not popular because of popular YouTubers. It's popular because it's playing the long game. Mojang and the team are putting in the work and slowly but surely marching forward. You know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think that speaks to the fact that it's the most popular game around, and that it's and to its longevity.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think one of the things when I see articles like this, or I hear about the rising trend of these larger creators bringing Minecraft into the spotlight, what I think is, how does Minecraft, in terms of both the game, the developers, and the player base, sustain this feeling? And how then do we also deal with it when this feeling inevitably goes away? Because it's people falling in love with Minecraft again, and what do you do after that? Like, how do you sustain that relationship again? And personally, I think Mojang should take a lot of the credit for it, regardless of how well we've been, going on about the game's bugs and how it's performing technically. They've created updates with engaging content. And also, I think largely to blame for this is a unified Bedrock Edition experience, because while we've been tinkering away with Java, Bedrock Edition players can now play across multiple console platforms together, which probably contributes to the experience in a much bigger way than we're able to give it credit for, because we don't play Bedrock ourselves. Mm-hmm. But I really think people being able to play from PC, tablet, Xbox, Switch, all of these things coming together from their phones and everything, just being able to have everyone contribute to the same world through this variety of devices has got to be huge for households, and they are going to be the ones contributing a large amount to that active player base. It's going to be parents playing with their kids playing together, friends gathering and all kind of hanging out together, playing on Realms or whatever, that kind of stuff. And that's all happened really in the last couple of years. Like, the Better Together update happened probably slightly before the update Aquatic, if I remember correctly, but that was the time at which everybody started playing Minecraft on Bedrock Edition as a sort of unified platform. And that's got to be huge for the profile of Minecraft rising over the last few years, as well as the article says, stuff like Minecraft Earth, Minecraft Dungeons, all of that stuff being in the pipeline, and renewing the interest in Minecraft as a world rather than as just the core game experience. Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting to me. So when the game maybe declines in popularity again, like you said, there is a higher tide line. There is a point at which, the player base sustains itself at a baseline level that is probably higher than it was when we came in. And I think Minecraft now has this 10-year history that we can point to its previous peaks and lows of popularity and say, this has happened before, so there's always a chance it will happen again. A couple of years' time, people who grew up with Minecraft now might well be feeling nostalgic and come back to the game then, and so much else will have changed. It's going to be interesting to see as the game rolls forward how it handles that feeling of generations playing this game, especially if they plan to keep it going for as long as we've heard them say they do. It's going to be really neat when grandparents who started playing in alpha and beta versions of Minecraft are playing Minecraft with their kids in a few decades' time.
Yeah, really though. I think you're asking about, like, how can the community kind of keep that going forward, or how can you sustain that kind of player base? And I think it falls on the communities that rise up around the game. You and I have certainly learned from the community that has sprung up around the Spawn Chunks. While I will not shy away from saying that you and I do a good podcast together, it's about Minecraft, and part of the reason that it was able to springboard to the level that it's at within the first year is because it's about Minecraft, and it's a popular game, and it brings in a certain listenership in terms of like personalities and welcoming and all that kind of stuff. I've noticed it in my own community. Speaking of those kind of communities, one of the first online communities that I was part of was the Frog Pants podcast community, which was centered around The Instance, a popular show about the World of Warcraft. And World of Warcraft has the same kind of communities. It's these close-knit gamers that love the game, that love hanging out with each other and doing multiplayer things and achieving goals. There's right back to the grind, like there's a certain level of pride that comes from beating dungeons and winning raids as a team in Minecraft. And I think that speaks to the longevity, because I want to say that Mark even mentioned in one of these threads, he even referenced World of Warcraft because it has the same sort of like, longevity and peaks and valleys. Because I've played World of Warcraft, and I had for like 6 or 7 years, and it, like, there were certain times when I hardly played at all, and then a new expansion would come out or something would happen and the gameplay would change, or it would just become more accessible to more people, and then it would start to peak in popularity again. And I feel like that's the kind of thing we can probably expect. It's never going to be just a constant climb. There's going to be some flat lines. There might even be some dips. But I think if the community that surrounds, Minecraft goes forward in the way that I've witnessed it over the last little while, then I think that Mojang and Minecraft are in it for the long haul.
I certainly hope so at this point, because, we've got a year's worth of podcasting under our belt, and I want to keep doing this for a while.
Me too.
And I want to keep doing this podcast for a while, but it is probably going to have to wrap up there, folks. So please do let us know in the email inbox if you folks have anything to chip in with regards to the rising popularity of Minecraft. What would you attribute it to? Do you think all of these big YouTubers are to blame? Do you think it's a gradual rise in the quality of the content? How do you feel like this stuff has been impacted? We would love to hear from you. But that is going to be it for this episode of The Spawn Chunks. You can find more information about the show and links to some of the things we've talked about today at thespawnchunks.com. The music for the show is composed by me, and The Spawn Chunks is proud, as always, to be a listener-supported podcast. If you get some value out of the show, consider putting some value back in at patreon.com/thespawnchunks. There you can join our community. Pledging at any level will get you an invite to our patrons-only Discord chat and get us closer to our next goal, bringing the Chunk Mail Dispenser segment back into the show. We're currently sitting at 109 patrons, which is down a few from last week, but it's the beginning of the month. Sometimes people end their pledges at the end of the month, and we get some new people joining on board. Would be happy to have you. And of course, special thanks to our content engineer patrons, JD Williamson, Llamas, and Yitz, for supporting this episode.
Sharing the podcast with your friends is the easiest way to support the show. You can find us at The Spawn Chunks on Twitter and Instagram, but personal recommendations are by far the best way to share the podcast. Server mates, friends, family members, everyone, just tell them, hey, you're new to the game. You've just come over from watching this giant YouTuber talk about Minecraft, and you want another place that you can listen to it. Tell them about the Spawn Chunks. It makes worlds of difference, and we would really appreciate it. You can email the show at thespawnchunks@gmail.com. You can find us on iTunes, Android, Stitcher, Spotify, and YouTube as well, if that's where you hang your podcasting hat. The RSS feed is on thespawnchunks.com, and the patron-only RSS feed is on the Patreon page, which is where you can listen to the render distance, the extended version of the podcast.
My name is Johnny, but online I go by Pixelriffs, and you can find most of what I do at youtube.com/pixelriffs, where I attempt to make sense of this crazy and wonderful game in a series called the Minecraft Survival Guide. I do behind-the-scenes work for the Survival Guide series 3 days a week on Twitch, and I'm also the voice for the unofficial Hermitcraft recap, which you can find through a quick YouTube search. Aside from that, I'm at Pixelriffs on both Twitter and Instagram. Joel, where can people find you online?
Everything that I am doing online is at joelduggan.com. I'm very easy to find, just my name across all social media, including Twitch, and that is where I stream Minecraft. I am hopefully going to be jumping on to Infinity Cove, my patron-only Minecraft server and community server, to check out what all the fun people have been doing there this week. So check that out at twitch.tv/joelduggan.
Thanks for visiting the Spawn Chunks. The world outside is infinite, and we've been here for years.